Hello, hello. Welcome to this edition of the Cancer Coach Talks. I'm your host, Leslie Nance, and tonight we are going to be talking about tumor markers and what they're really telling you. Sounds kind of tricky, right? So let me just say up front that this is a recorded Cancer Coach Talks tonight. I have a brand new client starting tonight, and I didn't get to do a recording last week or a live, and this week I could not leave you hanging, so I wanted to at least give you some good and meat on the bone information to chew on tonight and to think about. So let me introduce myself super fast. My name is Leslie Nance. I am the cancer coach coming here live on Tuesday nights and sometimes recorded like tonight on Tuesday nights, teaching you how to make your body an inhospitable environment to cancer and to disease. And we do that through mindset, mostly on these, but as a one-on-one cancer coach, I actually help people with nutrition. I help them with mindset, really making the body as inhospitable to cancer as possible, even if you are dealing with active cancer or even late stage cancer. And a lot about what we're going to talk about tonight really deals with that late stage cancer when we think about tumor markers and we think about what that means to us. And so we're just going to dive right in because there's no comments or anything. And so I don't get to talk with you live tonight. And I'm sorry to have missed that. But if you're watching on Facebook, if you're watching on YouTube, wherever you're watching from, thank you so much for joining. It's really a pleasure to have you here. Make sure that you follow our page. And if you feel inspired to share out, please share out. So tumor markers. Tumor markers are something that that physicians and the medical community uses to do several things in the body. They are there to judge prognosis. They are there to detect cancer that remains in the body, maybe after treatment or during treatment. They're there to judge efficacy of treatment, so how well a treatment is working, if the treatment is actually working, or even if the cancer has become resistant to any type of treatment. And when I say treatment, I'm mostly meaning immunotherapies and chemotherapies are the two main things that we think about when we think about a cancer becoming resistant to any type of particular treatment. And so tumor markers are taken through blood, through stool, through bodily fluids, just in general, urine. They can judge tumor markers, and they're called tumor markers because it's a value that is assigned to particular types of tumors and different things that they're looking for. They're really reactive proteins that they're looking for when they're looking in your bloodstream. And I think that this is an important conversation because we really assign success and failure in a numerical value. And so I'm going to use your bank account as an example of this. So we assume, or we assign a value to our bank account. If there's lots of zeros and lots of numbers in our bank account, we might feel like that is very successful, that we've been really good at saving, we've been really good at making money, we've been really good at keeping money around or having money flow to us. We've had a good job, we've been successful. So we think about our bank accounts that way, and we assign that numerical value to judge our success in life. And the opposite of that would be not having a lot of a lot of numbers and zeros in your bank account, or having one big fat zero in your bank account. You might think about that as failure, and that you have failed somehow, or that you've overspent, and that's a source of failure. And so when we think about tumor markers, they kind of work in the same way as a bank account, except opposite. We want the numbers to be low and not high typically when we think about tumor markers, but we have the same, and the medical community assigns the same kind of value system to that. If they're low, we're successful. If they're high, we've failed somewhere. Either they have failed somehow in the treatment process, or that we have failed personally because we can't seem to get rid of the cancer. And this creates a yo-yo, what I consider a yo-yo mindset. And when I say yo-yo, I mean like the toy, like the kid's toy, or sometimes an adult toy, because my husband loves yo-yos. But but it creates a yo-yo effect where we're up and down, up and down, up and down, because these tumor markers tend to move around quite a bit. And if you don't have a late stage cancer, by the way, and you're thinking, oh, they never tested me for tumor markers, that is actually quite normal. So, stage 1 to 3, typically they're not testing for tumor markers. They're using tumor markers as an efficacy for later stage cancers, for the things that we talked about earlier, for judging efficacy of treatment, for prognosis, for even sometimes for staging. To see if the cancer has returned in some way. So they use them as a first line of information as a blood test to see where somebody might be in that. So if you haven't had them, don't run to your doctor and say, I need tumor markers. You don't need tumor markers. If your doctor has not given them to you, then you don't need them. So let's just put that out there right now, because I don't want to cause a panic that you didn't get them. I've never had my tumor markers checked, but I had an early stage cancer, so therefore not necessary to check those tumor markers. Okay, so having said all of that, it creates this yo-yo mindset where if the tumor markers are nice and low, we're like, yay, go me, go me, go me. And then the second that they climb even a little tiny bit, we're like, this isn't working. I'm in failure. So we go from happy, successful to sad failure. And this happens throughout the course of a journey, especially with later stage cancers, especially with stage 4. We go up and down, up and down, up and down, right? And this is no good for your mindset. In fact, some doctors don't even use tumor markers. And the reason that they don't use them or talk to their clients or their patients about it is because they know the hell that it wreaks on their mindset. But this extreme high and then this extreme low and this extreme high, everything's great. And then, it's like yo-yo dieting. You've heard this term, yo-yo dieting. It's kind of what I base this on. I used to work for a weight loss center many, many, many moons ago. I worked for Nutrisystem when they actually had offices that you went to. This was, oh my gosh, I was in my early 20s. And so I worked for Nutrisystem, and we would talk about yo-yo dieting and how bad it was for the body and how much you wanted to resist having big weight losses, and big weight gains, because it was really bad for our internal organs, especially our liver and our gallbladder and our pancreas suffer greatly with yo-yo dieting. And so our mindset also suffers in this yo-yo mindset, and tumor markers are classic for giving you those super, super highs in the mindset, yay, 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 and the super, super lows in the mindset, oh no. So how do we achieve balance? Where do we find the balance in that mindset? And so one of the most popular tumor markers that we think about is the CA15. And the CA15 is, and CA, by the way, stands for cancer antigen. Okay. And so CA15 is a protein that's found in the blood. If there is breast cancer present, if it's elevated, if there's breast cancer or metastasis of breast cancer somewhere in the body. And so anything below 30 is normal. I have had women that have been normal, and they've gone to like a 33 and they're like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. That could be totally hormonal. That is not a sign that cancer has returned. Most of my clients that are stage 4 set in the, in the 100s to the 250s, that's pretty normal for a stage 4. I mean, normal with active cancer present, but I've seen it in the tens of thousands. And so there are a lot of things that can make that fluctuate back and forth, okay? And so some doctors use it as the first line of defense against finding out if a treatment is working or not. So if there is a sudden spike in your CA15, and we're using breast cancer as an example here, if there's a sudden spike in your CA15 and your stage 4, they might after that they're gonna order some tests to see what is next. And that's usually going to be some sort of scans, depending on what the suspicion is of where they think or where you have cancer currently, metastasis in the body. And so they'll order that test to see if something has changed. And a lot of times nothing has changed, but that is elevated for some reason. It can be because of tumor cell die-off. It can be because the cancer is advancing. It could be because the treatments aren't working. There are a lot of reasons, many reasons, hormonal change, diet, exercise. There are a lot of things that can make those numbers fluctuate. But the mindset of it is if it moves 1 or 2 points, we're like, yay, or ooh, right? And it happens all the time. I see it all the time. I get reports all the time. And we certainly celebrate like significant decreases. Like I just had a client and she was reporting a huge decrease in her tumor markers by 50 points. That's huge. She had a decrease by 50 points, and that's amazing to see. That means her body is healing and she is responding to her treatments very, very well. But if she'd only had a couple of points, that'd be great and we'd want to celebrate, but it wouldn't be as significant. So everything is very relative. If you had a 50-point increase, that would be significant. That's probably a signifier that the treatments are no longer working or that treatment's not right for you. And so they can mean they have many different meanings throughout our journeys, but we assign a value on numbers that tells us if we're successful or not. And so because this is a first line of testing, I'm always like, I just wish they wouldn't even tell you your tumor markers, quite frankly. Most doctors will. Some doctors, I have some clients that their doctors don't even talk about tumor markers. They look at them, but they don't even discuss them because they're so volatile. And they're really not a good signifier if something is working or not in the body. But we place so much value because we have this thing that we can look at and that we can judge. And as the patient, it feels like a massive, big deal when they move one way or the other. And to the doctor, they may be like, that's good, or that's, okay, or that's not great, but you've probably experienced this. You might have even gotten mad at your doctor for feeling kind of like they're being apathetic about it. So how do we place value on numbers while creating a positive reaction, even if the news is negative? How do we place value on a bank account that doesn't have a lot of zeros in it or a lot of numbers, right? That has a low value. How do we place that value on that? So I wanted to give you some tips tonight about how do we place value and create a positive reaction, even if it's not what feels like positive news. And here's another question to ponder. Is it possible to have a positive reaction from negative information? Is it possible that we can create a positive reaction even when we're getting negative information? And so here are some of my top tips for that. Number one is using this information, good or bad, to create an action. So let's say that you were my client that had the 50-point drop, right? Now, does that mean that it was just Memorial Day weekend and you can go out and have a hot dog? Because I had a big drop. I'm celebrating. No. This is not the time to let your guard down. This is the time to dig in and work harder because it's working, right? So it's easy to feel excited when things are good. It's hard to feel excited when things are bad. But let's take it the other way. Let's say that my client had a 50-point increase in her. She did not, but let's say she had a 50-point increase in her tumor markers. How do you create a positive out of that seemingly negative information that maybe treatments aren't working or that the cancer's growing or spreading? To me, the reframe of that is, okay, this is information. I'm getting information. I'm getting feedback. It's not feedback I wanted, but I'm getting feedback, and my feedback is telling me I need to dig a little deeper. I need to work on my mindset. I need to figure out what's stopping and blocking my healing pathways. Maybe for the doctor, it's like, okay, we need to figure out what's next for you. What's the next medication? What's the next treatment combo? What's the next path to align you towards healing? So for me, the reframe is aligning towards that information. If we receive information that's not awesome, then we figure out how to fix it. If it was your bank account and it had a big fat zero in it, wouldn't you try to figure out where to get the money from? Wouldn't you go looking for something to change so that you could fix that problem? It's the same when we're dealing with something that has a numerical value in our mindset, like tumor markers. The other thing is that if it's not what you want and it's not working, then wouldn't you want to know that it's not working so that you can make the change to something that will work better? Again, I know it's not the information that you want, but wouldn't you want that information instead of being on a treatment process that was no longer working for you? Wouldn't that be important information to know? And so we assign these values to these numbers and we think about them, especially tumor markers, increase bad, decrease good, right? Success, it's the opposite of my brain. Success, failure. But what if we took that feels like failure and say, okay, this isn't the right information to give my body. What is the right information? Because you certainly don't want to be on a path that's not right for you. And a tumor marker is a signifier of that. If you had a big fat zero in your bank account, you wouldn't want to stay there. You would want to find out how to put more money in there. What can I do? Can I get assistance? Can I get a job? Is there something I can do? Can I sell something? What can I do to fix that problem? You would go right to work fixing that problem. Sure, it's a bummer. Sure, you would want multiple zeros with lots of numbers in front of it, but that's not the reality. And so you have to find a way to direct that path. And for tumor markers, use that information to guide you towards that path that opens those healing pathways. You keep doing the work. So that negative information creates a reaction in you, right? That fear, that anxiety creates a reaction in you. And instead of paralyzing you and making you go, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, you go, well, that stinks. How do we fix that? You do that in every other part of your life. Why not with cancer? So instead of seeing it as a setback or a failure, seeing it as information to move you forward. That was failing. Let's be honest. If your tumor markers moved up 50 points in a 3-month period or in a 2-week period, that's not working. Let's get out of failure. How do we get into success? Does that make sense? You guys following me? So reframing that mindset. So what are your tumor markers really telling you? What are they really feeding you? What value are you truly putting on them in your life? How are you letting them guide you? How are you letting them change you in a way that directs you towards healing? Now, just a little light note on those tumor markers. My clients see both up and down. We tend to trend towards down, but every once in a while we'll see a spike. And it's okay. It can mean a lot of things, but staying out of panic and figuring out where you need to do more work, where you need to work harder. It's the same with scans. And it's the same with the size of a tumor. There's so many numerical values that we have in cancer. The size of the tumor, the number of treatments, the amount of months that you might be out of work. All of these are numbers, tumor markers. What else? Dollars in the bank account that cancer is costing you. I mean, all of these things, we assign these numbers and we assign a value, and it's based on success and failure. But when we eliminate that and see it all as just information, as opposed to success and failure based on numbers, on numeric values, we see it just as correct information to direct us in our path and healing. That is a massive shift in the mindset. How many times in my business have I had to shift because something wasn't working? It wasn't promoting a change in people's lives. People weren't transforming. I need to change that. I need to change the way that we do that. A piece of mindset work that it seems brilliant to me, but nobody will do it. I need to change my perspective. I need to figure out what will help people transform. How many times have I made those shifts as I was learning and growing as a cancer coach? And still today, not everything works for everybody. Not everything resonates with every person. But I see it as information. I don't see it as a failure. I see it as information to direct me in the path to help my clients better. Same for you. So if you're struggling with these numeric values, if you're struggling with putting too much emphasis on numbers in your life, and you really want to shift out of that, and you really want to go towards solutions, you really want to go towards healing, you really want to go towards what makes a difference in your life, and stay out of these yo-yo mindsets, up and down, up and down, up and down, please reach out to me. I help people through these scenarios all the time. I am a professional certified holistic cancer coach. I'm a professional certified holistic nutritionist. I am a 7.5-year cancer survivor. I know what you're dealing with. If not personally, then I have walked somebody through what you're walking through. Any stage, that's the business name, right? Any stage, any type of cancer, any stage of treatments, it is never too late to start making shifts in your life. I've had clients that have come to me that have been in hospice by the time that they get to me, by the time that they find me, and they get kicked out of hospice. I've had clients that have told that they have weeks to live, and it's been years. I am not healing cancer. I am teaching you how to ignite your body so that you have the opportunity to heal cancer. This is not about you not doing medical treatments. This is not about you ditching all of your, doctors and going for something new and natural and alternative. This is about teaching you how to teach your body, how to ignite so that cancer does not have a hospitable environment to live in, that your body is so inhospitable to cancer and disease that it doesn't have a chance. So if that's you and you're looking for somebody to help you through that process, please reach out. I will put a link here in this video so that you can do that. If you're watching on YouTube, there'll be a link in the description. So please feel free to reach out. The first call is about an hour long. We have a discussion about your journey that you have been on, about what is working for you, about what is not working for you, and how to get you to that point where cancer is no longer bossing you around. How to stop assigning so much value and energy from the mindset into numbers and success and failure. and get out of that yo-yo mindset, which causes depression and anxiety and frustration, blocks healing pathways. It's so difficult to heal when you're in that constant up and down like that. So I'm here to help you and love you through that process. So thank you for watching tonight. I hope to connect with you live at some point. Please make sure that you turn on notifications for our page so that you know when I'm going live or when we have one of these recordings. Just the last thing that I want to share with you this evening as you're watching is, and you know what I'm going to say, cancer is not your destiny. All right. Love you guys bunches. I will see you hopefully live next Tuesday. Bye, everybody.